Hello everyone, my name is Doom. I am the current world record holder for this game as of recording this, and I just wanted to go ahead and take an opportunity to go through and give an idea of what I feel like the best route would be to go through this. Now obviously this is more proof of concept to help with the development of the speedrun, and also if you wanted to speedrun this game, this might be helpful as a point of reference in order to get you started on how you should be progressing through the neighborhood. Now, just to make note, the usual way that people have progressed through the neighborhood previously was to go little swipe, grandma, and then kind of bounce zigzag down the street, right? I think that's a bit slow. And so instead, we are going to go ahead and showcase the way that I did it in my world record run. Now, mind you, my run is full of botches, it's full of small misplays, so it can definitely be improved upon. But this is probably the fastest way to get through the neighborhood just because of the text it allows us to do. So right off the bat, get it? Bat? Uh, mm, anyways, uh, right off cuff, as you can see, we have some close to the right. We're not even going to bother with that. We're going to immediately bat form, go to grandma's house. Now, as soon as you get out of bat form, you are basically going to be able to knock this. So go ahead, knock on the door, give her some proper respect right off the bat, talk to her about baking, cookies, stories, all those things. Give your please and thank yous. This should be a house that you're only in for about 35, 45 seconds. And generally, each house you're really going to want to only be there for about 35 to a minute. Anything more than that, and it's a pretty bad house. Once we finish that, we get the bite, right? We're not going to need to dress up in a costume or anything like that. We're literally just going to bat form, immediately take this corner, hop this fence. Now, as you can see, if you don't have the momentum, if you stop right in front of the fence, it's real difficult to make it over these fences. But as you're running, you build momentum, which lets you jump over the fence a lot easier. So we're going to go ahead and make that fence jump. And as you can see, this door has a radius on it. You can knock it from the corner if you want. But as a character, sometimes gets a little weird if you show up completely naked though. So you do have things like this helmet, this bag, in order to help you on the way in. We're going to go ahead and knock here. We're going to go ahead and tell him about gardening. We're going to ask him for tips. We're going to talk about heirloom tomatoes specifically. Now keep in mind, I don't know if he is as much of a fan of heirloom tomatoes as he is of tomatoes and then saying heirloom. The jury's kind of out on that. For my testing, tomatoes and then heirloom gives the two thumbs up. It builds up the trust meter a bit more, whereas alternatively, heirloom tomatoes, sometimes I've found I've just had to do another dialogue box anyways. But these characters will give and take different scores depending on what you're telling them. Sometimes he'll just give it up once you say gardening, or sometimes he'll just give it up once you say gardening and then tips. Sometimes he'll flat out deny you when you say gardening. It's very rare, but it happens. But, to each their own, find your poison. I'm sure this will become more consistent over time. But the crazy thing about this is that obviously the AI will learn and adapt to your run. So it's going to be a constant arms race trying to figure out how to best optimize this in a way that the AI won't immediately react to. Once we're done here, we're going to go bat form, we're going to jump this fence, and then we are going to grab these golf clubs, and you can knock the door from here. This is Boomer, so once again, older person, show your respect. You can talk to him about golf because you're wearing the clubs. You can talk to him about how you're a professional golfer. You can talk to him about giving him tips, things like that. And Boomer's a pretty cool guy. He makes things pretty consistent just because he tends to always respond the same way to that specific line of respect, golf, professional, tips, discuss. He'll typically always take a positive feedback route to that. Sometimes he doesn't, it's very rare, but he usually will. And again, we really don't need his clothes either. We're going to walk out, and then we're going to try to line this up, right? Now, the great thing about this is that the path to the next house is on the longer side. So you can bat at any point and just be fine. I like to bat here just because it lets me jump the fence easier. But you could jump it on foot and then just kind of bat your way all the way over here. Now, Sakura is probably the only house that really matters and the only one we're going to knock in this demonstration. just because she is absolutely integral to the run for two pieces of tech, right? So first things first, you're gonna want this dinosaur hat. Now we do have a mouse hat here, and you can do what's called a juggle, where you just rapidly click them to drag them over to the door. This gives you quick re-rolls in case the conversation goes sour for whatever reason, but it really shouldn't. But you're gonna want this hat because it'll be a cosplay item, quote unquote. Different items have different designations, like fashionable, Christmas, holiday. This one is cosplay. So I'm just gonna go ahead and give a quick demonstration on this door. Typically, talk to her about different animes, so on and so forth works out well. Specifically, her name is Sakura. If you tell her that you like to cosplay Sakura, she tends to take it really well. So we're gonna go ahead and do a quick knock, and I'm just gonna run through this house real quick. Anime, Naruto, Sakura, and there you go. See, nice and easy, quick little two-box action piece of cake, right? So we're gonna go ahead and walk in. And Sakura, not only is her outfit vitally important because of what it allows us to do at other houses, but her house also contains a secret little tech. It's not going to save a ton of time, but it is helpful because we have these policemen who kind of patrol around the neighborhood, right? They're the neighborhood watch. His name's Frank. They're all Frank. Um, but sometimes he likes to position himself awkwardly right in front of this house, and it makes it real difficult to get to the next door over. However, as you might notice, this door over here is oddly close to this wall. And as we saw with Bud, they have a radius. So you can actually knock the door from inside of Sakura's house. Now, I'm not going to do that just because we really don't need to. His name is Nick Claus. He's Santa. So basically, just talk to him about the holiday, things along those lines. Sometimes he will be in a bit of a Grinchy attitude, as he calls it. We really don't want to see Grinch if we can help it, but it's not a big deal if we do because the usual line of things like saying you're on the nice list, talking about the holidays, Christmas, how it's a magical time of year, blah, blah, blah. You get it. But we're going to want to keep these closed through that interaction because this does things for two houses that are right after Nick Claus, right? And obviously, if the police are chasing you, you are going to want to go ahead and bat for them. Get on out of there. Now, as you can see, Frank stole our hair. That's a bad sign. And that's the reason why we kind of do that Sakura corner knock. Because we really don't want them taking our items, and they will just pick them up. But luckily, we're not actually knocking the next two houses, so it's not that big a deal. Tommy Twizzler is going to see your hair, see your outfit, and say, oh, that's a lady. Because his AI is going to look at what you're wearing and designate it as a female outfit. And they're going to be responded to in one of two ways. Either way, we're going to force it down a specific route. He's either going to say, hey, you're my ex, or he's going to say, hey, you're cute, what's going on? But we're going to immediately going to ask for forgiveness, which is going to shift us onto the you're my ex route, regardless of what he thinks initially. And he's probably going to give you some line about, well, what do you mean forgiveness? We're not going to read it because we're fast, and we're going to transcribe in apologies, or we're going to say, like, hey, do you want to go on a date? Hey, let's make this work. You know, things along those lines to patch things up. He tends to be pretty easy, pretty consistent, 2, 3 input house. We're going to go ahead, bite him, keep the same outfit, keep the same hair. That what's his name's wearing right now, obviously. So we're not keeping it in this situation, but that's fine. And we're gonna go up to Regina. Now Regina, her entire deal, she's a fashionista, but she's also a little bit of a brat. So you're gonna want to show your respect up front to get that initial thumbs up, hopefully. And then there's a lot of different ways you can progress about this. You could talk about fashion, you could talk about beauty, you can talk about how inspiring or amazing she is. You can offer her a magazine interview. That one's kind of hit and miss, but it's my personal go-to. Just because if she does take interview, then I know she will take magazine, fashionista, inspiring right after. After we get her done, we actually don't need this outfit anymore. And so we can go ahead and bat up. We're going to go ahead and sneak past this guy. And we're going to want to grab this lab coat. Because this is going to be important for the next couple houses. Then we're going to knock on this door. This is Pinky Brain. He's a scientist, so you're going to want to talk to him about science, technology, so on and so forth. It's not really a big deal. It's pretty clear what you're going to want to talk about, right? And again, we have a fence we can go ahead and jump over. This is also handy if you happen to get the light on you right after you're hopping out. You can just jump this fence and he'll ignore you. And then you can go ahead and knock on B's door. B is a conspiracy theorist, so obviously you're going to want to talk to him about those kinds of things. He can be a little hit and miss if you hit the big points right away, like if you just drop aliens. Sometimes he'll just be like, oh, you're a double agent, blah, blah, blah. So I tend to start it out small with things like information, conversation, along those lines. And then that primes him to be more accepting of when you're dropping things about alien technology. Now we're going to go ahead and do another juggle because he has two hats in dungeon. Over here it could be a bit difficult, so we're going to just juggle these hats over to the corner, and then we can get a corner knock, right? Now this is obviously handy because in the case that this doesn't go well, we can just turn, grab another hat, and re-knock that. So we're going to talk to him, adventure, questing, treasure, all those fun dungeon things. Again, we really don't need any of these clothes afterwards either, so once we're done eating them, we can go ahead and bat for him over to the next house, avoid the cops. All we need is this top hat right here. We're going to go ahead and talk to Pompous Pomps. We're going to say, hey, man, here's some respect right off the bat because he's pompous. He wants that respect. We're going to tell him that, hey, we think you're amazing. We think you're cultured. You can praise him or you can gas yourself up and make him think that you're also a pompous person. Really doesn't matter either way. And you kind of have two options coming out of this one, right? You can either grab his clothes and then walk over, or you can do what I think would be better, which is just bat form over to Father Price, grab these wings, and then you can just talk to him and say, hey, I'm a messenger from the heavens, blah, 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 blessings upon you, right? He's a religious fanatic, he'll eat it up. Now, once you get him down, you're going to want to take his shirt. This is if you didn't take Pompous's shirt. I think this way's faster, because we are going to keep it going over to this house, which is Eve Breeze. Now, the important thing, once you get here, before you knock on this door, go ahead and do that right click and just take off the clothes, right? Because she's a nudist, and she really appreciates nudity. So you're going to talk to her, you're going to hit those hippie vibes, talk about energy, stardust, the universe, blah, 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 right? You're going to go ahead and eat her up, and then we're going to put back on Price's shirt. And if you still have the wings, you can juggle that and the backpack over to Rusty. Really, it shouldn't be too necessary because he has an accessory here. You also have the helmet there, and it's not too long to go back and grab it, but it can help. Rusty, he's a country fella, so you're just going to want to go ahead and talk to him about, the country, about beer, hunting, guns, tarnation. You can throw a little bit of southern slang at him, he'll be fine. We eat him up, and we're just going to go ahead and bounce out bat form because we really don't need any clothes for this next house. Just go ahead and grab one of these boxes, knock on the door. I found it's pretty successful just to say that you're doing an unboxing for charity. But that being said, sometimes he is kind of iffy about it. If you're worried that he might not like you because you're naked, you can grab this backpack. It also helps out well. He'll usually ask you what's in the box, what's in the bag, and then that's when you can do the, oh, it's unboxing, blah, blah, blah. He's a YouTuber. You can talk to him about the subscribers, all that fun stuff. We're going to go ahead and ditch our outfit once we're done there. We're going to hop over this fence. We're going to hold on to our bat because there are patrols up here. It can be real handy for, as you can see, just avoiding that patrol entirely. So we're going to go up here. We're going to talk to Zuck. Obviously, you need 6 houses. At this point, we would have about 16, so it wouldn't be an issue. He's big into technology, AI, the future, blogging, what you would imagine a social media mogul would be into, right? So we're going to go ahead, we're going to clean this up, we're going to eat them up, right? So there's the path down here. Again, we're going to go ahead and bat form to get around these guys. We're going to jump on this fence. This isn't a fence, this is a roof. We're going to jump on this roof, and you're going to want to hug this little side paneling here, right? The reason we're going to do that is because when it comes to the roof itself, it can sometimes have some weird collision, and you might get stuck in like this weird little jumping thing here, as you can see. And it's real slow to fall out of it. It's not a good time. You're going to lose like 5-6 seconds. So If you hug that side panel, you're not going to have to deal with it as much. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to get over, we're going to head over, we're going to hop on top of this, grab this outfit, clear this fence, grab this beret, right? Looking kind of artsy, and that's going to help us here with Karen. Now, Karen is probably the most hit and miss character in this game. She's either going to be way a big fan of you, she's not. I found typically it's best to give her a bit of respect at first, and then from there, just tell her you're an artist, you want to paint her as a portrait, and then you can gas her up a bit, and she'll usually be fine with it. After we're done here, we actually don't need these clothes anymore, so we're going to just ditch them and go over to Vicky, who's going to be another character we're going to knock for this demonstration. We're going to grab these clothes right outside of her house, and we're going to go ahead and knock this door. Now, Vicky herself is a doctor, so of course our women in the industry will want to show her a bit of respect. And there's a specific word, experiment, that she's either going to be all for or it's immediately going to shut the door. Let's go ahead and see what lucky we get here. Respect. Doctor. Medicine. Experiment. Medicinal. Boom. There you go, right? So as you can see, I did get a thumbs down on experiment, but because we had primed it ahead of time with respect, doctor, medicine, that ended up saving us because it didn't bring the meter negative. Now, of course, she's running around. If she runs to the back of the house, that's actually better for us. Usually you want them to stay close to the front, but it's not really necessary this time around because we're going to do another tech here called Vicky Clip. Now, as you can see, this area of the window just has no collision on it, right? Now, it's arguable if this is a glitch or not. Honestly, since you're not having to do anything outside of just walking through it, I consider this fair game. And based on the fact that I got glitchless in terms of my run and I used this, it would seem that the devs agree. So after you bite her, you can go ahead, bat form, coast on out. We're going to hug this back path, right? Now, this works out well because Woodrow's house is right here. His door's in the back. We have an item right here that we can wear to talk to him, and it avoids the patrols on the road. When you talk to Woodrow, he's a big kung fu guy, so you can go ahead and tell him that you're a martial artist. You're there to learn karate or whatever martial art you want to put in there. You could tell him that you want to enter his dojo, that he's your sensei, all that fun stuff. He tends to also be a pretty consistent, easy house. Usually I get him in like 2 or 3 knocks, right? Or not knocks, 2 or 3 messages, 1 knock. We're going to go ahead and leave there. And ideally, you do want his clothes because the next house isn't really keen on naked people. But you don't technically need his clothes, so if you want to take the risk, you can, right? Now, here we have Maple. Now, Maple's house is built in a way that makes it real interesting if you're trying to do the trick. It makes it real difficult if you're not, right? So, the big thing here is you can see there's this little speck in the corner where the mirrors don't quite touch, right? You can snag that speck of the corner and make your way over with the right momentum. Unfortunately, as you're going to see right here, it is really inconsistent, but you did see how I stopped my fall right before I fell. So there's a couple ways you can go about this. Obviously, you can try to make it over this fence line, but you're not going to be able to make it without batting. Typically, I find the best way is just to take the loss, go ahead and just walk up the stairs. In terms of her, she's a lumberjack, she's Canadian, hitting those topics tends to work pretty well. If she does give you a thumbs up on lumberjack, tell her it's amazing and interesting, and she will usually let you in right there, because she does take compliments pretty well. Once we get her stuff, we're going to want her hair, because that's going to help us a little bit down the line with a different house. Of course, you don't have to get it. If you want to just bat form out and get to the next house, you can, because the next house is Millie. Millie is a millennial. Typically, if you say millennial, she'll either give you a thumbs up or thumbs down. If she gives you a thumbs up, you can go into talking about you're a magician or talk about magic. She's way into magic. Outside of that, she likes hanging out. Avocado toast is one of those topics that she tends to thumbs down, believe it or not. And we can just get her hair as well as her outfit. Although the outfit's not necessary, it's good to have. And then if you are taking her outfit, grab this hat on your way over. The reason for this is because if you are wearing the outfit of the neighbor in its entirety, they will recognize you as that neighbor, and that can make the routing a little bit awkward unless you have a specific path in mind for that character. Wearing the hat will make enough of a break that you'll be able just to hit this guy, Homer Vines, with the usual go-tos I have, which is going to be daughter. If you're wearing the female hair and dress, then that'll work fine. And then you could say father. You can say safety. He's big into safety. He's basically your family guy. You know, lucky there's a man who positively can do all the things that make us laugh and cry. Once we get out of here, we can just go across the street to Carol Cares. Now, Carol Cares, in the general sense, super easy house to get into. She basically invites you in right off the get-go. Once we finish with her, we're going to be heading over to Jessica Overworked. Now, the big thing here, right? If you have this hat, that's great. Otherwise, grab her hair, but make sure that you're juggling something over to the next house because Jessica Overworked tends to be a person, and this final stretch tends to be difficult, where you're going to want to have these rerolls on deck. Now, when it comes to Jessica, I found saying you're an assistant to work on a project tends to work pretty well. You can ask her for career advice, and it tends to go okay. She can be a little hit and miss, but generally speaking, if you get enough thumbs up, you can just start saying you want to give her a vacation, and she'll just let you in. We're going to leave her house. We're going to go ahead and hat our way over with this juggle. And now we have Fragile Fred here. Fragile Fred, his whole deal is that he's fragile, like safe spaces. You can tell him safe. He loves talking about art. It's like one of his favorite things. That's how I usually get in, is I talk to him about art, and I say all kinds of wonderful things about art, and he just gives up eventually. Now, he can be someone that's going to give you multiple knocks if you aren't careful, because he has a tendency to have a bit of a hair trigger when it comes to closing the door. But all in all, he's not all that bad. So we're going to go ahead and juggle over to the next house. This is Hazel Roastwell. She tends to respond well to you complimenting her roast, or to you just saying that you are a crazy cool person. You know, she kind of takes both ways in terms of positivity. She also likes talking about coffee. It works well. We're going to go ahead and juggle our way over to this door, which is Fallout Roy. It's big important that you grab this skateboarding thing because it allows you to use skateboarding as a prompt, and he tends to take it well. Outside of the skateboarding thing, obviously, he's a depressed guy, so you could talk about poetry, you could talk about handling depression, feelings, all the fun stuff, right? From here, we're going to go over here. We're going to go ahead and, as you can see, there's a nice backpack here. We can take that and we can use that to juggle all the way over to Sony Toprano's house. He's a bit of a mob boss, so show your respect. Offer him a cigar, talk about protection, talk about playing golf, eating pasta, yes, really. And he tends to let you in after that, right? We can go ahead and continue shuffling over to the next house, which is going to be Raven. Now, Raven, she's kind of like Fallout Roy, where she's a little hit and miss on certain things, but she does have these two handy boxes right here. This will let you re-roll right at the side of the house, so you could even bat form over from Tony's if you want, but she doesn't tend to take well to nudity. Then we're going to knock on the door. We're going to talk about vibes. You could talk about how parents suck. She's kind of your typical teenager, so follow that prompting. From here, we can actually jet on over to Brian Bitcoin, right? And just like Bud, he's not really super fond on people being naked, but luckily he has a helmet right outside of the house that you can just grab from beyond the fence and knock the door at the same time. So the police probably won't find you here just because of how the fence is built. So this can be a nice little safe spot to just sit, because as you can see, he's looking right at me, but he just can't see me. So we're going to go ahead and knock on this door. Obviously, when it comes to Brian Bitcoin, you're going to want to talk about Bitcoin, Ethereum, all that fun stuff. He'll give up pretty fast as long as you're keeping things good. Here's a warning, don't talk about Dogecoin. He doesn't tend to take it that well. And then from here, we can actually just jump this fence. Jump this fence. There we go. And then the last door is Lil Swipe. Now, Lil Swipe, he's a rapper, he's a music artist, so we can go ahead and just hit him with things like saying beatbox, collab, vibes, all that fun stuff. And then once you get that done, you're in, you give a nibble, and then you're set. So all in all, that's probably the reason that this route is the best, just also because of the Elon house jump, the Sakura clip, and all that fun stuff. It also just tends to save all the time that you would waste going in between these houses. So like, look how slow that is, right? Okay, now I gotta go to this house. Okay, now I gotta go to this house. And as you can see, we don't really get as good of angles when it comes to things like jumping fences. We don't tend to get as good of angles when it comes to things like, oh, I need to approach this door. Oh, well, I can bat form from here, make the fence jump, whatever. But if I'm coming from that house over there, then I'm really just not gaining any time on the way over. And then, of course, grabbing clubs, everything else, it's a lot easier access if I'm just jumping over and tagging it. And then, like, look at this, right? Look at how much time this loses here, right? Having to walk all the way over here. Okay, here's Sony Soprano. Then I have to walk all the way over here. And then now I'm talking to soccer, right? Versus, boom, I hit that house, boom, I hit that house, boom, I hit that house, jump the fence. Now I'm at Sakura's, and now I can actually do this route properly, right? And of course, once you hit the side cul-de-sacs, the other strategy also had you kind of hooking around. But, you know, this is, as you could probably tell, just a much cleaner progression of event for us, right? Because we're able to jump up here, we're able to bat over to this house here, we're able to get our knock, talk to the guy, we could just go straight down this hill. We're gonna hit that corner of the roof, we're gonna go up it, we're gonna go down it, we're gonna hop on this car, we're gonna jump this fence, boom, right? And then it's just a nice clean transition across the rest of the neighborhood. But yeah, so that's the long and short of it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully this helps you smooth out and implement different ideas in your own runs. Obviously, if there's any kind of major updates in the future, I'm going to go ahead and make a new video for those, just explaining the different things. But yeah, thank you for watching this far in. I hope you've had a wonderful day or are going to have a wonderful day. And I guess I'll see you guys the next time I see you. Bye.